Welcome back, New Jersey football fans, to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. I'm Mark Trible, joined by co-host, as always, Coach Tim McAneney. Coach, good to see you.
Good to be here again.
I got the sweater. You get short sleeves on, man. It's cold out.
It's finally cold, so I'm kind of out of sorts with my dressing. But you know, I pulled some crimson, right?
You pulled a little crimson. I know. Good win for your Hoosiers, getting past the Wolverines, sneaking by it, skin to their teeth.
It was going to be a tough one. But
were you the guy? Did you always have a guy on your staff that wore shorts when it was this weather? There's always one. I think you have to have one on a staff, right?
We actually
Who was it? Pick the one.
We actually did not.
Oh, really?
No, we didn't. We didn't. If you go through, our guys didn't. We used to, kind of before the game, if you had the guy with the shorts with the Tims, I'd be like, dude, aren't you cold?
Aren't you cold? It's freezing out here.
I'd walk across the field and be like, our wind's whipping down here. We had 20-mile-an-hour winds at that stadium all the time.
Yeah, you did.
No, I was not the short guy. I mean, I was the short guy.
You were the short
guy.
guy.
But I didn't wear shorts.
Didn't have the short pants. No, the gray hair is called that.
Exactly.
A special shout out, of course, to a longtime friend of the program, Tiger Minetti. Always had the shorts on. Didn't matter what it was at Holy Spirit. Thank you all for tuning in to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show, brought to you by South Jersey Glory Days. We got a lot in store for you, but first I'm going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Our presenting sponsor here is the West Jersey Football Coaches Association, established to promote, improve, and unite football in South Jersey. And in less than 3 years, the association created the Battle at the Beach and has dedicated itself to helping others with the funds they raised at that event. The association has donated close to $80,000 to date to provide scholarships through the National Football Foundation and the Touchdown Club of Southern New Jersey. They've also donated to the charity Philly Faces, which helps those in need of facial reconstruction surgery. Thank you to the West Jersey Football Coaches Association for your sponsorship of the show. Also got to give a shout out to our buddy Dave O'Sullivan. His website, sjglorydays.com, is where you can find my content after Game of the Week. He gives us a platform to do this on his Facebook page. Thank you, Sully, for everything that you do and all that you've churned out for South Jersey high school athletics this fall. Has been a lot of content. Be sure to check out that website, sjglorydays.com. We got an interesting show tonight, Mac, because we're going to talk about all the sectional finals. We're going to talk about non-Pub B, non-Pub A from terms of South Jersey perspectives on that.
Finals week. This is like in the old school world.
Yeah, this was it.
This was it. This was it. I'm explaining at home to the young folks like, yo, this was all the marbles, and now it was played a little later in the season, but it's an exciting time. I mean, sectional finals. I mean, it's I know we're going to touch on a lot of the games we had, and just being a part of that, and we'll talk. Just being out on those fields as most of the other sports are finished up, right? They've been done for maybe a little bit, so there's some honor to being still left in that group, still trying to get it done.
Absolutely, and from here on out, history is going to be made, right? You win a sectional semifinal, that's good for you. You win a sectional championship, that trophy's in the case at your school forever. You make a state final, you were there, and only one other team in your group was. So this is really history from here on out, moving forward. I think we've got a chance to make some serious history here in South Jersey. We also, when we go through these matchups, Mac, in segment 2, 3, and 4, or however we decide to do it, I know we've been kind of doing a running tab here recently. We're going to be joined by West Deptford head coach and the president of the West Jersey Football Coaches Association, John Emel. He's been watching tape. I know he'd rather be playing this weekend, but instead he's been helpful enough to kind of be if this is a college game day type setting,
okay.
I think you're Corso.
What, maybe 20 years ago?
Yeah, maybe. Well, I don't know. I said I didn't distinguish the age.
The current Corso?
Yeah, I think maybe you're Corso, and
we're bringing in.
We're gonna have a guest picker here. He's a little bit.
Okay.
He's got a little Pat McAfee in him, a little bit,
right.
Little XYZ. He's got a lot going on. Coach Emel knows football, and he's aside from being a great coach, an absolute high school football junkie, especially in South Jersey.
It would almost. You notice it was blasphemous. Nobody would even think about saying they were saving, right? They were all just staying away from nope.
Until we get Glenn or Clyde or Sal or Tim or one of those guys on the show, I think
the Mount Rushmore of South Jersey.
We'll leave Saban alone. No comparables there.
Exactly.
For anybody watching the show, be sure to share it out. I know it's highly anticipated every year. People ready for this one. Everybody wants to get all jacked up, figure out which game they're going to go to, or if they got a school in the race yet. Just excited as all get out to get to those games. So first, Mac, let's take a look back in our first segment here at the game of the week last week. I was there, Central Jersey Group 5 semifinals. Washington Township and Cherry Hill East, we talked, it was the first time since 1991 that Cherry Hill East had won a playoff game. Coach Tyler Drob done an excellent job for the Cougars in bringing them back, building that program to a point where here they were a step away from a sectional final appearance. On the other side, you had Washington Township. They made the sectional finals last year for the first time in a long time, and they were looking to go back. And This was an odd one because the first time in my life during the national anthem, half the lights shut out at the stadium there at Tom Brown Field. Had a little bit of a delay. Some people thought maybe it's theatrics, and I thought, well, it takes 30 minutes to turn those suckers back on. That's exactly what it took.
They don't have the LED clicks that go right back?
Not quite.
All right. Well, we got to work on that for Township for next year.
So the lights go out, and then we have a little bit of a delay. We stretch, whatever, we get out on the field. The first kickoff, again, something I have not seen. Cherry Hill East kicks a low line drive and hits a Washington Township up man right in the chest, recovers the ball. And that was about all that went right for Cherry Hill East at that point in the game.
What do you mean you haven't seen that? You've seen that.
I don't know if I've seen it in high school intentionally.
Oh, maybe it wasn't. Was it intentional?
Yeah, it was intentional.
Okay. Well, yeah, that was nice.
It was a great job. But East went 3 and out. Washington Township went down and scored. I mean, they win this thing 35-7. They had a 21-0 lead by halftime on touchdown runs by Colin Beeler and Jalen Robinson. A great touchdown catch by Isaac Parra, who also had a huge catch to set up that first touchdown from Beeler. Deshaun Long, an amazing kind of you got Moss touchdown catch in the third quarter. He's a talented player, of course. And Robinson had a 34-yard touchdown run that made it 35-0. East scores late, gets on the scoreboard. But 35-7, it was all Minutemen from the beginning. Again, outside of that kick and the lights issue, they really were they were ready to go. And East is the only loss they had this season. Everyone will acknowledge they didn't play the schedule that Washington Township played. But you certainly have to tip your hat or take it off to East for everything that they did this year. Not a reflection of this game. This was just all Minutemen. This was a program that had been there last year, was ready to go back. Right. You got kids that are thinking, we're not just happy to make it.
Correct.
We want to win it.
Correct.
And East thinking, this is the building stone that we have for our program that Washington Township was kind of in that, we talked about last week, in that zone a few years ago as well.
Exactly. Now, look, to a man, if you ask Charlie East, were you just happy to get to the sectional finals or semifinals? Mm-hmm. And no, they weren't. They wanted to get to the finals. They wanted to win this football game. That's an obvious. In saying that, to your point, Township, been there, done that, yep. Right? So you kind of got to get battled playoff type tested, yep. Mm-hmm. Knowing what, East did get that win, and when you're that, there's a couple things. When you do get that win, it's say whatever you want. Those next 5, 6, 7 days mm-hmm. at Cherry Hill East High School were like a party. Yeah. Right? And coach is like, guys, we got to wheel in. We got another game. We got Township. And the kids know it. But you're going into English class. You're going to history class. We haven't won a playoff game in 35 years. Oh, my God, this teacher, that teacher. And it's great stuff. I mean, it's great for morale. It's great. But we all know, as the guy on that board says, the rat poison, right? You start listening to it. Wow, we had a big win. Did we have a big win? Yeah, you did, but you got to go get it again. Right. But Township's not hearing good job when they are a little bit, but it's like, hey, what are we going to do to East? What are we doing to East? Right. We got an undefeated East coming in. There's something when you carry that undefeated moniker, there's some pressure on that. The bullseye gets bigger.
It does, Mac, and I think it played in the favor of Washington Township
100%,
in the sense of Cherry Hill East making history. Game of the week. You go out there to see, could they be the Cinderella? Everybody's talking about first. They go on the road, beat a Southern team, by a touchdown. You're thinking, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Nobody last week when talking about that game is talking about Washington Township. They're the 1 seed.
No.
And so, they're thinking 2 things. One, they're probably a little bit motivated because nobody's mentioning the team that's the team to beat.
Correct.
And on top of that, they're probably thinking, you know what? East is the one that has to show up here and show something. We can just do what we do. We've scrimmaged them. We know what they do, and we can take care of business. That's what they did. I think they were ready to come out and say, this is a nice story, yes. And good luck to Cherry Hill East on the way.
Yeah.
But they can't play with us.
Look, short time ago, I was in both sides of this coin. Township was a 1 seed that got bumped a couple years back.
That's right.
So I was in that seat back in 2014. We're a 1 seed. Boom, we got bumped. You come in, and sometimes you start thinking, and when you as a coach can now say, hey guys, this happened. I mean, it didn't happen 20 years ago. It didn't happen 30 years ago. It happened It happened 2-3 years ago. Like, some of the brothers were on this team. Some of the, family members saw it happen. So, when you're going up against that, when you're that one seed and it's come and bit you, you are more, I think, battle tested, ready to go.
Group 5, very interesting. The 2 finals we got on Friday night. When you look at the 4 teams that are there, I think in the last couple of years, there's been some upheaval in Group 5 outside of Toms River North, who's won the first 2 state championships in state history in Group 5. But when you look at the other customers, we've had Kingsway in there. We've had Cherokee in there. We've had some other schools who've made a play, right? Washington Township was in the final last year. They got blown out by Toms River North. But now Washington Township, RV, AC, these are programs that now a few years in a row, we expect them to kind of be there when the last few years we've been in this show talking about, wow, look at what Washington Township's here. Wow, look at what they've done. Right. Now it seems like maybe a new era, especially with RV and Washington Township. We have a lot of juniors on those teams too, so a team to look forward to. Right.
Yeah. That's what I was going to kind of speak to, is that next step. A lot of these programs, about 3 years ago, they were starting to climb up. They were getting knocked out early in the playoffs, things like that. They're starting to rebuild. We see that reset, right? And you just hit on it with the townships, the RVs, those teams. But before them, it was the Lenapes, the Cherokees. They were like the dominant teams in that, in that group.
Williamstown.
So, yep, in the Williamstown.
Correct,
so it kind of flipped a little bit, and now it's their turn.
Yes, it's their turn, and now it's different of like, oh, it's just nice to be in the playoffs. Now it's, I don't want to use the word expectations. That's always, I don't like using nobody's supposed to do anything. It's though, all right, we know what this feels like, right? We know the band seems a little louder at those games. The air's a little crisper. The refs are a little more dialed. Everything just seems dialed in at those playoff games. Everybody, you can feel the energy in the air when you come out to warm-ups and pregame. And it doesn't matter who you're playing. You respect the other staff, whether you've known them for a long time or not. It's just different, right? It's just different, and being through that process on both sides, getting smacked as a 1. But then another flip side, taking care of business through some process, through that process. Focus the kids. I mean, that's going to be the theme, right? Keep, nobody's anointed yet, right? You got to go win the games. You got to go win.
Yes, you do have to go win. I know we got a lot of our usual customers in here. Shout out Chris Baker. Shadid's always in here. Dwayne, I know you're watching from up in North Jersey. Thanks for watching, man. We got Mr. Newsom in here. Says, they can't wait to shock the state. I don't know how much of a shock it would be if Atlantic City wins that game, but we'll get to that game as well. We got to preview all of these 10 sectional final games that are in the public brackets for South and Central Jersey. We'll also touch on the non-pub. So stay tuned. We'll be back with the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show right after this. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show's presenting sponsor is the West Jersey Football Coaches Association. The West Jersey Football Coaches Association was established to promote, improve, and unite football in South Jersey. And in less than 4 years, the association created the Battle at the Beach and dedicated itself to helping others. They've donated close to $80,000 to date to provide scholarships through the National Football Foundation and the Touchdown Club of Southern New Jersey. The group has also donated to the charity Philly Faces, which helps those in need of facial reconstruction surgery. Thank you to the West Jersey Football Coaches Association for their sponsorship of the show. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by SRA Home Products. South Jersey, let me tell you about my friends over at SRA Home Products. SRA has been building sunrooms, pergolas, and patio covers for over 25 years. They've built more than 9,000 projects in the Delaware Valley. I've had nothing but the best to say about Mike Fody in the time I've had the chance to be around him and his crew. SRA is a gold accredited member of the Better Business Bureau, under the elite provider status with Home Advisor, and they've racked up Best of South Jersey awards throughout their past. They contribute to multiple sport associations and are huge supporters of Williamstown football. Find them online at srahomeproducts.com. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by the NJFOA South Officials Association. Are you passionate about football? Don't wait. Become a part of the NJFOA South Officials Association and join them to help officiate high school football games. With a diverse community of more than 250 members, they proudly oversee every high school football game in South Jersey, setting the standard for officiating in the state. By joining the chapter, you will become part of a team that upholds the highest standards in the game. They are more than just officials. They're advocates for sportsmanship, integrity, and guardians of player safety, champions of fair play. They offer the proper training to ensure you're ready to make the calls and uphold the values. Ready to put on the stripes and join the team? Visit www.njfoasouth.org and hit Join Us to register now. That's www.njfoa-south.org and hit Join Us to register now. Elevate your love for the game and become a football official with NJFOA South. Welcome back to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show, all of you fans out there in North Jersey and beyond. I know we got people in other states watching, a lot of fans. Thank you so much for all the support. Want to give a real quick shout out to our sponsors there. You saw the ads, but especially the NJFOA South chapter. We need officials. If you want to go ahead and if you have Twitter, go to my profile. It's a pinned tweet up there in the top. They're looking for signups. They need officials for next year. Believe me, you want to be a part of the action. You want to help out. We need as many good officials as possible. It's important to the integrity of the game and also growing the sport in and outside of South Jersey.
Classes start in March, right?
Yeah, at West Deptford High School. So
there you go.
Welcome in West Deptford's head coach here, John Emel. Over here, Kelly Green. Looks good, Coach. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Coach.
I mean, between you two guys, it's...
Coach.
I think it's the only place I've ever been in my life where I can't get a word in edgewise.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, you guys can run the whole show.
Well, you know the thread that runs between us, right?
That's right. And he's coaching this weekend.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about him, Mr. Folsom, and his squad down there at Mainland that he's coaching the offense for. Let's start here in Central Jersey Group 1, though. We're going to go with each group. We're going to talk about the matchups, talk about what each team did last week in those matchups. We got Woodstown, the 1 seed at 9-1. They're going to host Shore, the 2 seed, undefeated, 10-0, Friday at 7 p.m. We talked last week. We're not sure if they're allowing cowbells in or not, but we're hoping they do. It adds to the authenticity of that Woodstown environment. Coach, I know you know about that, but Woodstown won the previous matchup in 2021 in the semis in South Jersey Group 1. It was 24-19. Last week, they get by Pennsville 21-6. You know, some people may have thought it would get a little more lopsided than it was, but Wolverines take care of business. Alex Torres, 23 carries, 111 yards, 3 touchdowns. Garrett Lehman runs 14 times for 100 yards. And Shore upends Woodbury, who's the 6th seed, 17-7 down at Shore. John, obviously being a coach at Pennsgrove for a number of years there, you're very familiar with Woodstown. I know you've kept an eye on them this year. You know what they're doing. What do you expect from Woodstown in this game as they get a Shore team that hasn't lost this year?
A very tough place to play, Woodstown. Very good at home. Old school stadium where, there's no track around the field. The fans are right on top of the playing field. It gets loud down there. I know we talk about that every year with our guys going into the game because when those guys are on the field, you can't hear, what's going on the sideline, some of the communication stuff. So Shore's going to have to take that long ride. They're pretty familiar with coming down here. They've been down here the last couple of years. Well, I think they played Woodbury in the playoffs a couple of years back. Familiar with Woodstown, having played 3 years ago. But, for Woodstown, this is a senior class that for the last 3+ years, they've been really good. They've been in sectional finals almost every year. A couple years ago, they got knocked off at home, but last year we were able to break through and win it, and then they're back in the sectional final this year, playing at home with a better record than they had last year.
Playing at home against the undefeated team who's coming in to play.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, I see what happened here. You brought the Group 1 guru in, Rod. See what happened?
Right.
I understand.
I understand. Group 1 to you, right?
Right. Group 1. I don't even know why I'm in the shot. We don't need to hear Mac talk about 1 because, Coach, you guys are the resident gurus on it. But yes, you got an undefeated team coming in. Woodstown, I hate to say been there, done that, but they're now perennial, been there, consistently doing it. And like you said, Coach, listen, I'm not that naive. That's a tough place to play, right? Like you said, no track, it's tight.
Yeah.
Fans are right on you. I mean,
they beat some quality teams. I remember when, my mentor, Coach Folsom, went down there like 10 years ago, played a very tight game. 2 years ago, they thumped up Haddonfield at home. You know what? Coach Delano's team's always good.
Certainly.
They beat a lot of teams at home that are very good.
Well, that you don't think, right. That you'd think, at a neutral site, there might be a touchdown or 10 different. Now you get to home, and then that just becomes a different space down there.
It's a different environment for sure. And the other thing is, well, I said for sure, but it is a different environment for sure. Woodstown really is a team that, you had Belafonte, who's a bell cow for them all year. Torres has stepped up nicely in his absence. I don't know if Belafonte, what exactly the status is. I would think that, here's a kid who, he's been one of the best backs in South Jersey over his career. I would expect in any way he could find a way to play, he would do so. But, the Wolverines, what they're going to do, and that's what's impressive about what they've done is they do it anyway. They lost that game to Glassboro last year. It was a heartbreaker in the state semifinals, and they lost to Glassboro a few weeks ago. It was a heartbreaker. These teams are a step away from each other, and you better believe Woodstown has that motivation. We got to get back to see that maroon and gold team, or Shalleck, if Shalleck upends them. But either way, John, that's a big motivator when you got a shot at a team that's had your number here the last couple of years. Yeah. 3 losses to Glassboro in the last 2 years.
I think Shore's kind of the surprise here, not necessarily after the playoffs came out, but they have a new coach too. Long-time coach from Ocean Township, went over there. The coach of Shore had been there for like 30 years, retired. So they have a new system, and so that staff and that the guys that have been starting there for the last few years, they're gonna be faced with a tough test going down to Woodstown. I'm with you. I think the question is Belafonte going to play? He hasn't been at full strength the last few weeks, but it's a good senior-driven team for Woodstown, and they're tough at home.
Yeah, and I want to give a lot of credit also to Coach Frank Trouts and what he's been able to do there in his first year. I think, we may gloss over, some people aren't as familiar with the Woodstown football program, the job that John Adams did to build the program to where it is. But Coach Adams stepped down after last year, and Frank Trouts takes over, and he's been able to maintain that, which is not an easy thing to do, as we've seen through South Jersey. There's a number of programs that they don't just reboot the next year and be back to that same expectation. And Coach has done a great job. So great job, Frank, on that.
And footnote too, we are the South Jersey Frenzy Show, so we are having rooting bias typically. Woodstown, keep the focus on the shore, right? I mean, let's win this weekend. You don't see anything. You don't see Bulldogs or Shalleck unless you take care of this game right here. So it's reeling guys back in, win the sectional, celebrate the sectional, and then see what happens. Who you have next round?
That's right. We got Coach Dennis Thomas here in the chat. He's up at Syracuse. Dennis, wasn't too long ago where you were in this type of environment, and we're glad you're watching the show. You're always keeping tabs on our youngsters. Maybe some of them, you're thinking, hey, they look pretty good in orange and navy blue. We like that too. We got a lot of guys on that team up there. If there's one thing Dennis knows, it's orange and blue, right, all the way through. We'll get to Millville. Dennis, don't worry about that. I was telling somebody the other day, I think there was a playoff game a couple of years ago. Millville played Clearview in the playoffs up at Clearview, and I was covering that game. And Dennis told me to get my camera ready because the play he called was going to be a touchdown. It was a touchdown, and as the play was transpiring, the video got a little bit messed up because Dennis grabbed me from – Dennis Thomas, right? I mean, one of the best backs ever play Rutgers. Grabs me from the back and squeezes me and picks me up over his head. And it took a number of weeks for my ribs to heal out.
Did you get the shot, though? You got the shot.
Dennis Thomas was the guy that kind of introduced us. You showed up at practice one day. I never knew who Mark was. Showed up at practice in 2017. After he had been there for 2 hours, We go in the office, do kind of like a little interview. He did a feature on one of our best players at the time, Tyreek Brown.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, you know the guy that told me to come see you? I said, no. He said, Dennis Thomas.
That's right.
He said, you need to get down to Pensgrove and meet John Emel. And Dennis was doing his thing in Millville at that time. And I appreciate Dennis for introducing us.
Dennis, hope you're well, man. South Jersey Group 1, we talk about talent in South Jersey. There isn't a team in Group 1 that has more of it at the skill positions than Glassboro. At 10-0, they're the number 1 seed. They're going to host Shalleck, the 2 seed, who's 8-3, Friday night at 6 p.m. Glassboro won both the last 2 matchups. They won 20-10 this season in Week 7, and they won 20-0 in the Central Jersey Group 1 final last season. The Bulldogs last week, they rolled over Riverside 55-8. Jack O'Connell, 8 of 11, 158 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kenny Smith, and we talk about stat lines all the time in the show. Are they real or are they not? Kenny Smith, 11 carries, 249 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That'll get the job done. Xavier Sabb, 6 catches, 145 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Glassboro rolls. The Cougars had themselves a heck of a win against Paulsboro at home. The 3 seed Red Raiders fall to Shalleck, 33-28. Kenai Simmons throws for 75 yards and a touchdown, runs for another one. Reggie Allen Jr., 2 touchdowns. He's had a great season. Sherrod Jones, a receiving touchdown here. You got Shalleck, you got Glassboro. As we said, they played earlier this season to a 10-point game. Glassboro, many would have thought from the beginning of the season, especially with the addition of Kenny Smith, this is the team that could make it back to the state finals and win it in Group 1. Shalleck has gotten better as the season's gone on. No question about it, what Coach Wilson's done. Simmons is there. He's been a program player. He has carried the load for them for the last few years. John, we'll go back to you on the Group 1 cam here. What do you think about this matchup from both sides, Glassboro and Shalleck?
Oh, a couple programs I'm real familiar with. We played Glassboro pretty much every year when I was at Pensgrove for the last 20 years. Tremendous program. I mean, the last few years before they've returned to glory, people forget, that in Group 1, Paulsboro, Woodbury, Glassboro, they're perennially the teams that, have had the most success. So ton of respect for the Glassboro football program going back to when I was a player. I think watching them last year to this year, obviously the difference is their offense is a lot more dynamic. Last year they were winning with defense, and I think we talked before the season, and it was like, how many shutouts are they going to have? Because they're so good on defense, brought back almost every player, very good on the front 5. The Simmons leading the way, and their ability to kind of just lock people down in the secondary. It's just a matchup nightmare. Shalleck, we scrimmaged in the preseason at West Deptford, and, shout out to Coach Wilson. Done a tremendous job. They were 0-7 or whatever in 2020. He's rebuilt that program into a team that's obviously in the sectional final, 2 years in a row. And like Max said, that's what the gold standard always was, getting to the last game of the season. And for Coach Wilson and Shalleck, I'm sure they're excited to see how much they've improved. I've seen them a lot on tape this year, too. Saw Glassboro a couple times in person. Watched the Shalleck-Paulsboro game pretty hard last week. I think both teams are going to be eager to play their best, for 4 quarters. Glassboro hasn't been tested probably since their last game against Shalleck. Maybe Woodstown, I guess. But they've kind of got it rolling, and, and when they play well, I think they're the best team in the state in Group 1. There's no doubt about it. And Shalleck, go back to last year, they lost 20-0 in the sectional final where everybody said all year, hey, you didn't play a tough schedule. You can't hold up against a quality team. They kind of got down early. We're down early. I think you covered that game, maybe, Mark. I don't remember, but somebody did. Yeah. And, then this year they played them home. It was 20-10, a game where, people are saying, hey, that's a pretty tight game. So I think for them, can they go on the road at Glassboro and improve from what they did just, 5-6 weeks ago? They haven't lost since. Simmons is a heck of a player. And, Shalleck has found a way to win games these last couple of years.
Yeah, 2 things I want to give intangible shout-outs here, too. First is Shalleck Football Live tweets, their Twitter account. They have the best Twitter account of any football program
they keep it going?
in the game. They are on it. They got graphics.
They probably gave it to a student.
Yeah,
how novel!
Exactly.
I don't know how
50.
I don't know how I came across it, but it was on Twitter or something. It was the Shalleck game day preview. They had a game. I think it was where they played Paulsboro or somebody a few weeks ago. They had it looked like a college program. They had the graphics, the predicted starters. It looked like something you would see.
With all due respect,
in Alabama.
with all due respect to the ads that try to keep everybody live up,
Yeah.
most ads are not, under 20 years old. High school kids who know how to do that.
My brother, he saw it. He sent it to me. I'd already seen it. He goes, "We need to do this." I said, "Dude, not enough time in the week, man."
Listen, the footnote is, Trip brings it up, Rod. There are kids in the building that can make this stuff shine, right?
That's for sure.
The West Deptford High School, we have a great broadcast team. We do live graphics, music. We had a sideline cam. Our kids are doing a great job. So this is just another example. Shalleck, I'm sure these kids have it going on. They do an unbelievable job.
Give them Twitter account access. But back to the game. Look, I look at it. Kenny Smith wasn't playing in the 2010 game, right? He was not. He didn't play the first time.
No, I think he
Kenny
did.
played.
He did. Okay. There's so many. There's so much talent on Glassboro, man. The Sabs and Kenny, and O'Connell. I mean, it's just a lot, right? And it's good. They'll have their hands full, But again,
I think that you just said it, O'Connell, the X factor. I think when I've seen them in person, so I seen Glassboro 8-0 with Salem up until about 45 seconds left in the first half. In the first half of Woodstown, 3 fumbles. It's like, is the quarterback going to play well? Are they going to take care of the ball? The defense is unbelievable. If they do those things, well, then it becomes Shalleck probably is going to struggle to stay in the game because Smith and the Sobs, they're super explosive. Yeah. But it comes down to, is Glassboro going to play a clean game, and can Shalleck, battle and control and limit the big plays? Kenny Smith is first and goal every time he gets the ball. Yeah, the Sob, every time they throw it up, it's first and goal.
No doubt.
So that's what you're battling on.
And they affect the game on every side. If the ball's on the turf, the odds are a Sab is going to pick it up and he can take it all the way. Or ball's in the air or a punt. You got to almost punt it out of bounds a lot of times.
Salem and Millville the last few years, and some non-offensive touchdowns. Camden, Glassboro is really good at that. Can they get a non-offensive touchdown in this game?
They're killers.
Those things are big difference makers in these games.
No doubt.
2 oddities here, and I do want to give a shout out to some of our you guys, the 2 oddities. T. Bettle Jackson, good point, absolutely. Woodbury could not take care of Shore. Thought last week they had a good shot. You're right. Shore took care of business, undefeated for a reason. Blue Devils. And we'll get to Point Pleasant Borough and Camden here in a second. Kevin Evans says it took 7 games for Kenny to get to 1,000 yards on the ground, averaging almost 12 yards per carry. That's unbelievable, obviously. 2 things that are odd to me, Coach Emel. We don't have to spend any time on this, but I just want it to be known. First is Glassboro not having those yellow helmets. I love the yellow helmets, the classic Green Bay Packer, maroon, blend. But also, 2 of these sectional finals in Group 1, they're both at night. They're a Saturday morning game.
Yeah, for a long time,
one,
it was like
right?
At Paulsboro, at Woodbury, even the last years at Salem, at Pennsgrove. The Saturday football is a staple in Group 1, and this year it's Friday night, which just means there's less games that people can attend.
Exactly.
Well, and
you like that Saturday option.
And we'll get to it, but there's a Group 4 game on a Saturday afternoon. So
there is.
Yeah.
So you got no excuse. You can go to 2 games.
I will be at a game on Friday night.
South Jersey Group 2. You got Camden High, the top seed, and South Jersey Group 2 at 8-2. They're going to host Point Pleasant Borough at 9-2. Friday at 6 p.m. at Katz Field at Farnham Park. The Panther Bowl, this one is, and this is going to be streamed on the D2 Sports Network, I believe. So if you're on YouTube, just stay exactly where you're at.
6 o'clock kickoff or 7?
6
o'clock kickoff. Okay.
If you're on Facebook, go to youtube.com/@D2 Sports Network. Camden last week beat Willingboro 41-6. They roll. Mekhi Brunson, 9 for 13, 174 yards, 3 touchdowns. Christian Braxton, 12 carries, 71 yards, a touchdown. He caught one of those passes from Brunson for 6. Malik Red, 2 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. The defense was spectacular, only giving up 6 to a team that scored 62 the week prior. Point Pleasant Borough beat Manchester Township 49-14. This is a program that's always here. They played Willingboro the last couple of years. I think Willingboro got the better of them. But a program that's here year in, year out in Group 2. Last week, Jake Clayton throws a touchdown. He runs for 2. Dylan Reitmeyer, 17 carries, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. Calvin Vidian Perino catches the touchdown. Point Pleasant-Borough loves to run the ball.
You think?
That's a heavy run attack.
That's 2 passes.
Triple option.
2 passes. I mean, yeah, they're running triple. So, I mean, you got your hands cut out stopping triple. So
yeah, you do.
Or your work cut out.
And Camden has seen the run-heavy teams over the year. I don't know if they've seen a triple or wing or whatever team this season.
But look,
but they have seen it over the past.
Triple is different than run-heavy. You know, you want to line up an eye, or even a wing T who doesn't run any option off of it is a little different than having to defend a true triple, because you're telling your guys typically all week go, right? Now when you're running against triple, you're in a spot where you got to make sure you're playing assignment football and doing your job. It kind of slows you down a little bit as a defense, But again, Camden High, a lot of talent. Both sides of the ball. I mean, I just think you got on the group 2, you're just looking at a South matchup of it's Camden and Rumson about to smash heads.
Well, that could be the case. And John, I mean, we've seen it have been a number of years since Camden High won a sectional title. This would be 3 in a row for Coach Henson, the job that he's done there. What is the number one key to success for Camden High on Friday night, other than just stopping the run?
I think, people have to look. This is a different kind of Camden team. They've run the ball really well. They have the first 1,000-yard back I think they've had in a number of years. Coach Henson's done a tremendous job. I think the 3 best teams in Group 2 from my perspective, and I was in the group all year, was Rumson, Camden, and Point Pleasant-Borough. So I think definitely Camden is ready for this game. They're going to respect Point Pleasant-Borough, but they've been very, very good at home all year. They got a win over RV, who's in the Group 5 sectional final. They played a tough schedule. They battled Delsey the last couple years. 2 years ago, had the lead on them most of the game. So they're going to be ready to go. Coach Henson's in his 3rd year with this group, and they played in these big games. And I think going into the season for Camden, and just from the perspective as a fan, it's Group 2 state title or bust. So these guys are going to be ready to go. And I think, for Point Borough, they have to play a perfect game when you run that style of offense. You have to get the lead. You can't turn the ball over. 1st and 20 is a death sentence for, the pound run heavy team. So they got to play clean with the penalties. So I think Camden's margin for error is a lot greater than Point Pleasant-Borough and what they have to do to win this game.
Right. When I was actually going to send Trib a tweet or something this past weekend.
Carrier pigeon.
Something. A Raven. And that basically Army had a drive this week, 90-something yards, 21 plays, 14 and a half minutes, right? Now, Now look, think about that. To your point, Coach, you can't make mistakes when you're a run-heavy triple-type team. You're not gonna win being in 3rd and medium plus. You want to be 3rd and 2. You're fine. You're comfortable 3rd. You want to go to 3rd down against Camden High. You want 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. Maybe occasional 4th down, but to do that means you got to execute, and that's limit the penalties. None of those drive kill. Snap on the ground, and you can't any of that stuff.
Point Borough has some guys that may be more of a household name after this Friday when people down here see him. The fullback is very good. He's a big, strong kid. He's a veer option fullback. Well, he's got 17 touchdowns. The quarterback is a sophomore that I think placed in states in wrestling. He's a 3-sport star that's going to be around for a few years. So they got some guys, but Camden's a heck of a team, man, and they're the top seed for a reason.
And you got I think when you're defending triple, you can talk about the outside, the flank, and what you're going to do the outside. If you don't stop the first give, if you don't stop that dive back, give back, be back as they call it in the true triple, look at our boy down with Army from St. Augustine. Yeah, I mean he's just
small Nuda.
Yeah, he's just killing it. And you can do so much talking about the outsides and how we're going to feather the quarterback, we're going to crash him, we're going to make a pitch, we're going to and next thing you know, the fullback's running up the field for 30. So, look, Coach Hintz, he's made his bones on the defensive side of the ball. So, I don't think I'm not worried about his game plan or what he's going to do, but he is stopping fullbacks.
And that's why I said, this is not the same Camden team. I think the best defense is their good offense. Control the ball, score points. If they score, they have a 41-27 win over RV. They've scored a lot of points and a lot of 50-some points the last 2 weeks against Willingboro, who has played a lot of tight games. And so if their offense plays like it has the last couple of weeks, it's going to be very hard for Point Borough to do what they want to do.
Be interesting. Wall and Rumson is the other side of that. And Rumson, as Kevin Emmons puts here in the chat, they have been in the sectional finals 11 years in a row. A tremendous program. This game here, as much as it is for a sectional final, could also be a referendum on Shore versus West Jersey Football League. You got a team, Point Pleasant Borough played, lost by 13 to Rumson, lost by 3 to Toms River North. You got a team in Camden that lost to Holy Spirit by, I think, 9. And then they also lost to Winslow. So other than that, those are only 4 losses. Those are pretty darn good teams in both leagues. So we'll see how that plays out.
I think, and I hate to say this, but from a style standpoint, Coach, like this is a trickier game than Rumson. I've seen Rumson on tape, and I think Camden matches up very well defensively with what Rumson wants to do on offense. Rumson had a game against a team we played twice this year, Manchester, so we saw them on film. And I think, for this game, I mean, not that anyone's looking ahead. I know everyone respects Rumson from the success they've had against our programs down here. I think this is the game that, from a style standpoint, is maybe more intriguing than Rumson, who plays a more traditional offense that Camden has seen all year.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. Friday night, 6 p.m. And again, the winner will play the winner of Wall, Rumson, Fairhaven. That is the only sectional final in Central and South that doesn't have a traditional South Jersey team in it. I think 13 of the 20 finalists are from South Jersey, and so far in the playoffs this season, public playoffs, South Jersey is 22-13 against teams from outside of the traditional South Jersey region. Central Jersey Group 3, you got one of those matchups here is Delsey, the 7 seed, heads to Somerville, the 1 seed. Undefeated Pioneers beat Ocean City last week 30-14. Brendan Pacheco threw for 2 touchdowns. He carried 11 times, 140 yards. On the ground. Terrell Mitchell, 19 carries, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Brady Shire caught 2 of the touchdown passes there. He had 5 catches on the night. Delsey just continues to do what folks have thought. Can they just continue to do it? I mean, they have been the zombies this year. They beat Cedar Creek 28-14 on the road. Rod had that stream live. The 3 seed, the Pirates, could not stop the Delsey run attack. Jimmy Reardon, 14 carries, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also picked off a pass. Dan Russo, 16 carries, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also picked off a pass. Between the 2 of them in the playoffs, they have 5 interceptions in 2 games. And on offense, they've done everything that they need to do for Delsey. This is a game where Somerville, look, they continue to churn out the wins. They've been the team to beat in Group 3 in that bracket right from the very beginning. I think everybody would say that. But Delsey's a different animal, and it's a team that, if you're not used to seeing them, and like you said, it really puts the emphasis on possession by possession by possession. It's an interesting game. What do you think about it, Mac?
Well, I'll tell you, if you're Somerville and you're basically talking to your kids and you're playing a team, Delsey's what, 4 wins? Right now, 4-7, 4-6, whatever, and you got to convince them, right? We're dealing with kids, right? These are 15, 16, 17-year-olds, Coach, as we know. And you're like, guys, this is the sectional final, and they're like, in their heads, they lost 6 games, right? And and if you're not showing film of Delsey and Russo and Reardon, who are both GAM and grown, they are men. Playing against boys sometimes. These are dudes. I feel like Danny Russo has been playing high school football for 7 years, right?
He looks like he's got a beard.
That's what I mean. I've seen Danny. I mean, he was playing quarterback in the 2010. It feels like forever, like 15.
I remember he's playing midget football for Monroe. He was the quarterback.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Just yesterday, he's been around a long time.
So, but Delsey's going to do Delsey, right? They're doing their Delsey thing. And we all know what's going to happen. And Somerville, obviously, great season. They're going to host Delsey. And there's going to be some head scratching on Friday night.
Somerville's had some tough luck against, the South Jersey teams. Yeah. In 2019, they came down with a good squad, ran into Woodrow Wilson, Fidel Diggs, and, got blown out over in East Camden. And then came back in 2021 against Cedar Creek on the road, got shut out, maybe like 30-0. In a game when Cedar Creek went on to go 13-0. So they're familiar with South Jersey teams that hasn't gone their way. This one is at home. And Somerville was very good, from 16, 17, 18, one of the premier programs in Central, North, whatever section they ended up in. They're kind of in that area where they could go either way on a given year. So I'm sure they're eager to prove that, hey, they're one win away from a state semifinal and another sectional title, and they've lost the last couple times they've went against a South Jersey team in these games.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't say enough about how impressive Delsey's been here. They got as many wins in the last 2 weeks as they had the whole season. I mean, that's a fact, and what they've been able to do since Coach Marquez came back and operate on offense. And Rod, you saw him last week, man.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say is a lot of people talk about their offense, but the job that they're doing defensively is probably the key to them winning, because they really shut Cedar Creek down from getting those deep bombs, those big explosive plays that they want to get. They were able to, the linebackers are key in stopping the pass. They were able to drop and get into those windows and get those interceptions. And the defense has to be talked about. It's a really good defense.
I think both linebackers are back, right, off the last year's state championship team. So when you bring back those guys and then key positions, like you said, you can do so many more things. I saw them the last couple of years in their playoff run, and those, they do a lot of stuff. They blitz, they get after you, they can drop into coverage. And Russo's had a couple big interceptions. I just think how far they've come in the last 3.5 weeks. They were going into Williamstown, second to last week of the season, needing to win that game, with Mainland on the horizon, saying, hey, if we get in, we're dangerous, but we have to get 2 wins. And like Coach Mack said, it's when you're losing, the kids don't care. They don't care how well you're playing. They just know you're losing. And it affects your morale, it affects your ability to practice. And guys are dejected. And they dominated that game against Williamstown, took Mainland to overtime, and now here they are, both with an opportunity. If they were to win, you're going to get a Group 4 defending state champ against a Group 3 defending state champ next week. That's how close Delsey is to getting back to where they were.
Yeah, right. And this is the 4th sectional final appearance in a row for Delsey. The 4 years prior, if you're talking about the COVID season as well, they went 44-4 over 4 seasons. They were in a sectional final 3 times. They won 2 of them. They lost a state final, and they won a state final. And the 1 sectional final they lost was to a Cedar Creek team who went undefeated.
And Reardon started quarterback in that state championship game 2 years ago. So they have experience in big games.
Yeah, that's right. When Maxwell was hurt.
With this group of kids.
There's no doubt. And, Mac, when you look at a team with that type of experience and what they've been able to do, it is crazy to sit here and think that they lost 4 games over 4 years. And then this team here is like writing a Cinderella story, and they lost, 2 more games than that already this season.
But you know what? They don't care now. Culture. And they don't care now. Now they're back, and now they're 2 games into the playoffs, ready to win a sectional. And like I said in the beginning of the segment, Somerville's like, really, what did we draw here? We drew the Delsey. We wanted Delsey of the old, or the last couple, the first month of the season. We didn't want the Delsey of old. So, and they got Delsey.
There's just certain programs too. Like, is it really a sectional final if Delsey isn't involved? I feel like they've, other than Paulsboro, and they've won the most, I would say, in South Jersey. So, they're always involved, and here they are in the mix again with a chance to get another one.
Yeah, absolutely. And for most teams in that situation, you get in the playoffs, you upset a couple teams. You're the 7th seed in the sectional final. I know Riverdale is also one of them in the state that's doing that.
How about that? Two 13, 14 seeds in the quarterfinals of the state.
It's unbelievable.
State bracket.
And you'd think like, well, maybe this team can't. As soon as anybody in South Jersey knew Delsey played that game against Mainland in the final game and lost in overtime, they were winning the last minute or so. The record did not matter to anybody in South Jersey. You knew exactly what you were getting with Delsey. They could have no wins. You knew it's still Delsey.
And nobody was betting against them.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens in that one. On the other side of the bracket, South Jersey Group 3, you got Mainlands at 8-3. They're the 2 seed. They're going to host the 4 seed Seneca, who's also 8-3 Friday at 6 p.m. at the Mustang Corral. I want to give a shout out first and foremost to TNT Media on Instagram and Seneca. Mac, you actually sent this to me. I didn't know you had Instagram. It's _.tntmedia._. They actually had a video where Coach DiOrio, who we frequently talk about on the show, showed our preview of the game last week, and then as soon as we were done, he pulled up the screen and he wrote on the board 2 things. He said, there's 2 expectations here. 1, play violent, and 2, stop the run. And we talked about how they were having trouble stopping the run. They had to do that against undefeated Hopewell Valley. And let me tell you something, Coach. You guys met the challenge. 16 carries for 35 yards for the Bulldogs in that game as Seneca wins it 28-25. They pull the upset. Anthony Tirico, 201 yards passing on 14-20. 2 touchdowns. He carried 18 times for 102 yards and another touchdown. Jamar Worthen, 4 receptions, 107 yards and a touchdown. And I think he has one of our knots of the week. We got it, Rod? Here we go. Let's see what Jamar did here on defense. I think this got the scoring started for Seneca. You look, we got a rollout here from Hopewell Valley. That great jumping catch. It's like N'Kobe Dean, man. Takes this thing back.
Wow.
Breaks a tackle. Huge start. And you look at the performance that Seneca put on defense, being able to stop the run. Huge win for the program. They're back in the sectional final again this season. And a game that, look, you have to be able to stop the run to win. Coach said it. Well, now I want to touch on Mainland too, but first let's talk about Seneca winning that game.
Hopewell Valley, undefeated team, right? Going in and as a rematch, right?
Had beat them pretty good in the regular season.
Correct,
too.
because they didn't stop the run, right?
Yep.
So you got so you're sitting there, and Coach, I know. When Rod brought it up, Delsey's defense, right? Teams that tend to run the ball pretty well tend to also sometimes tend to play defense pretty well because the practices, and we all know a guy that we have a common friend that practices hard run, practices stop run. And high school football, I mean, look at all levels now. You got to stop the run. Yeah. You got to stop the run. We used to tell our kids, stop the run, have some fun. Because third and distance, we're going to go get after it. We're going to make plays in the back. So you put teams third, 6, 7, 8. You now can dictate the game. And now as Rob was saying with Delsey, they run the ball, and they play defense. It's not a surprise, right? Tough. Rally to the football. It's an attitude. I sound like an old man gray hair. I know I do.
I'm not as familiar with Seneca as you are because I know that's your neck of the woods, but I did watch him a couple times.
I live on this side of 206
yeah,
now.
I mean, for me, that's
a lot closer to where John lives.
I'm about 30 minutes south. So.
I don't have a truck.
Yeah, so, but I'm going to give a shout out to Coach DeOrio because we all love Coach Fisher, right? Coach Fisher was Seneca football, built the program, okay? We inducted him into the WJFCA Hall of Fame as part of our Battle of the Beach event to start the season.
Literally started the program scratch.
Literally built the program. He is Seneca football. But, oftentimes, and you let it be had some success when you left. And, Woodstown's having success with Coach Adams. But typically when guys step away, especially guys that have been there for a long time, there's a big drop-off, And for Seneca, which played a tough schedule, they had a great season last year, knocked off Cherokee at the end of the end Fish's career. Like, did anybody expect them to be back in a sectional final, probably outside of the people in their own backyard? I would say no. Well, and they played some great games. They found a way, they win close games. They're going to have another challenge this week, but I saw them against Haddonfield, tight game. They won 14-7. They're 5-0 this year in one-score games. Against Willingboro, I put it on just because we were scouting for the playoffs, and I wanted to watch, preview Willingboro a little bit. We could have played them in the first round. And they play without the starting quarterback, the stud. And they find a way to win. They're running trick plays. They're getting big stops. They're getting knots. I mean, Seneca, and we'll get to Mainland in a second, but they've done a heck of a job with a first-year coach.
Well, right. When you talk about staff turnover, absolutely. It's interesting. So Coach DeOrio was calling the defense. He was a D coordinator. Took over after Fish left. And a lot of the guys, the same culture feel is there. Like when I left Lenape, Woj running our defense there took over. It was like you got that same group. There is some continuity. And then Anthony, Coach DeOrio, putting on his twist on that squad. And Fish, obviously biggest fan. Like Fish is over the moon that Seneca is where it is right now. Yeah. I know
Fish in the chat now
Coach
too.
Probably
I
think Coach has a daughter on the cheerleading squad.
Yeah,
he's going to everyone in the games. He's their number one fan. He loves it.
I don't get to get sent to games of the week, but that's where I'm going Friday night.
There you go.
I'm going to see some friends play at. They're going to get some. I don't lose either team. I got a horse in a race, and that's going to be a fun.
Be wearing green.
I'm going to be wearing green regardless.
Third straight sectional final for Seneca.
Not an easy feat,
and not a feat that I think 3 years ago anyone would say. If I said, "Well, Seneca will be in the next 3 sectional finals," I don't think they've grinded it out to get there a couple times. They've been the underdog. The program continues to battle, move forward, and they have an opportunity. Now we got to talk about Mainland too, because the Mustangs. are their foe. Also 8-3, and the Mustangs won one game in their division this year. They played in the toughest division in the West Jersey Football League, and none of those losses were really close.
I would
on
say the
scoreboard.
toughest public school division in the state.
100%.
That's what I would say. But
I think you look at what they've done this season. They aren't last year's team. Everybody knows that, but they're still pretty darn good. They beat Homedale last week, 48-13. The game was over early. John Franchini, 6 for 9, 138 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jake Blum caught 2 of those touchdowns. He's done a great job at receiver for Mainland. But how about Rocco DiBiaso? 20 carries, 250 yards, and 3 touchdowns, the heart and soul of that team. And I think with what you've seen from Mainland, they've had an incredible run. They continue to just be a machine in the playoffs the last couple of years. I mean, they haven't played a competitive game in the playoffs since 2 years ago.
yeah, they look healthy for the first time, and they've done a number on. I think when everybody looks at the enrollment stuff, right? We talked about Camden's expectation to win the Group 2 state title. I think when that was announced that Mainland and Ocean City moved to Group 3, I think everyone was like, oh, all of a sudden, Mainland's got a shot. Because, no disrespect to them, but Winslow and Millville returned a lot more players. So everyone thought, hey, Group 4, great program. Mainland under Coach Smith has done a tremendous job. But when they moved to Group 3, all of a sudden it was like, well, if they can, manage the regular season, when they get to the playoffs, they're very dangerous. And they look healthy for the first time, and they're 6-0 the last 3 years against short conference teams. They're just beating them up in the playoffs. DiBiaso looks healthy. He was out, limited for a couple games. They got their line. Coach Folsom's got them firing on all cylinders.
You got to knuckle up the plate.
And they're playing a style of ball that Coach is cold when you came in here tonight.
Yeah.
You need the coat for the first time. They play a style of ball that's conducive to this weather. Right. So I think, it's a tough task for Seneca to go down there and play at 6 o'clock. They have their hands full, and Mainland looks like they're firing all cylinders.
What do you think?
Well, look.
This is the game you're going to. Let's hear what you think.
Well, I'm going to go to it, and I'm going to tell you, you got to knuckle up to stop Mainland, right? You got to knuckle up and stop that. What Coach DiOrio said last week, we got to stop the run and do it with violence. And if you and it's always, I've gone a lot of Coach Folsom coached offenses, right? A lot at West Deptford games when I had days off or nights off, I was at West Deptford games. They are a run-dominating team, right? They're run-dominating. But you'll look at the quarterback, and it's what? 6 for 9, 138. Bang. They break your heart, right? You're just sitting there. You're overselling out to do something, and then something else is coming out the back door on you.
They're throwing the ball very well.
Correct.
I think Franchini's got 1,700 passing yards. Bloom, the receiver, has over 1,000 yards receiving. When is a Coach Folsom team, I know it's Coach Smith's offense, but when have they had a receiver with 1,000 yards? So,
right.
So they're throwing the ball well too, and that's made them, a lot more balanced than they probably didn't have to be last year. They just had the horses, but this year they're dynamic.
So how many you put in a box, right? You put 8.5, you put 9, you're going to get crushed. They'll take advantage of Coach Smith, and Coach Folsom will take advantage on the outside or up top. And but I'll tell you what, You sit too high against Mainland, they'll run you to death. They don't care. That's the thing. That's the thing about good old school coaches. They don't care how to get it done. They just care to get it done.
Well, and
I'm just laughing because I watched their game last week and it's like 35-7, and they bring out the old tight end delayed dump and hit like a 60-yard touchdown pass. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, it's like.
You're thinking, why did he save it? But on the other hand, you're like, did he just show it for a reason?
There's no saving anything. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, it's 35-7, and that's a great play. But it was there. That's why you run it. It's there.
That's right. He's like,
and now you better worry about the tight end in the pass game, which is something that
exactly.
Just one more thing to worry about.
Right, yeah, one more thing that keeps up DiOrio up at night.
They're fun.
Extending an invitation for you to join them in the booth broadcasting this game, Mac.
Like to be inside.
You can be there. He says they're even going to bring Charlie's wings for you. Okay, so you can sit up top if you want.
Ulmer's the man.
Actually, shout out to Ulmer. The other thing is I want to get to T. Bettle Jackson here, who asked me this question and wants me to answer with no political answers, which is tough, especially this time of year, I guess. But who do I think was better, Mainland last year or Winslow this year? And I would say this. We'll see what the next couple weeks hold for Winslow. So that is the political side of it. But to this point, now I'm thinking of Mainland up to playing Millville last year going into that game versus Winslow to this point going into their sectional final. Winslow's had far and away the better season. Millville, Mainland didn't play the schedule quite.
That's why
played a close game.
Yeah.
Winslow has not played a close game.
Not
at all. Even against Mainland, who we just said is a very good team. In that game, they didn't score until there were 4 minutes left in the first half, and they won that game 47-24 on the road. So I would say right now, we'll see. Now, Mainland won a state championship. It was 49-0 at halftime, and Winslow will certainly try to get there if they play in it. But
I think
that's the point. I think at this point, Winslow has had the better season.
But you look back a year ago, right? You look at what Mainland did last year. Millville on the road, defending state champ, and then bowl champ before that. So basically 2-time state champ. Winslow on the road, Ramapo, perennial power up north who everyone respects. And none of those games were really close. Millville was the closest one. And, so like you said, those kind of questions get answered in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I think Mainland peaked they hit their stride. They are the carbon copy of you get better each week and you don't have any idea how high that thing can go. Winslow each week has been, after, maybe the first couple, they've been pretty dominant. Go ahead.
John just said it. You got to answer that question in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's too early.
But
what I asked for now.
What I will say is
answer that question 10 years from now. Not even next week. What about that 10 years from now?
Both teams are the structure of them are built different. Like you said, the Mainland team, once they got rolling, they were tough to beat, man. They're not going to be as flashy as Winslow is, but yeah, that's a tough one, man. We're going to have to revisit that.
I tell you what, Winslow has definitely stepped up. They got the quarterback in year 2, and he's been the difference all regular season, in my opinion. He looked great in the summer. They were in the D2 event we had at West Deptford, and Bill's done a great job. He's been there a couple of years now. It's like another year in the system. Mainland, they don't have the guys they've had the last couple of years, but they're year 3 in the system.
Right.
And the quarterback's been 3 years in the system.
Yeah.
And they've expanded the offense, and that's why they're throwing the ball so well. So, every team's at a different point. I think, I'm curious to see what Winslow does this week and then next week. And then, if they should win.
I think one thing I do want to note in terms of both teams and what these programs have done the last couple of years, and then we're going to take a break. We got to get to Group 4, Group 5, and non-pubs and Game of the Week, is I don't think there's a more underappreciated player in South Jersey the past few years than John Franchini and what he's done at quarterback for Mainland. I really feel that, man, because every week he does exactly what they need to win. He has big games. He hits, and he's not the guy. It's DiBiase. Last year it's Tyson. It's Connor Cook. It's these other guys. And he does a lot for that program.
You might be right about that. He flies under the radar, but he stepped in as a freshman, though. True. When he came in as a freshman, he gave them that spark in the passing game where people didn't really expect it. He did.
Listen,
I'm looking at last week.
I hate to go but he, as a freshman, they were 12-1. And if Jabril Mace runs that kickoff back, they're probably the state champion.
That's true.
But Millville has players, and they're a tremendous team, and they stuffed him on the
Good
goal
point.
line and got the score to win. But that was a toss-up game when he was a freshman. So is he underrated? Well, he's probably what's his record?
I just think he's underrated.
He's 30-3.
He's 30-3.
He's got 4 losses.
Off the top of my head,
He's 30-3.
30-4.
And when you look at, you go Mace, and the running back last year, his name escapes me. All apologies.
He's 32-4.
Mace, Ordilli, DiBiase.
Mace was 2 years ago,
right?
Ordilli.
Yeah, well, exactly. But these are the guys that are the headliners. Nobody's sitting here talking about Johnny Franchini when we sit each week and talk about Mainland.
Jamie Tyson.
But last week, 6 for 9, 138, 3 touchdowns.
But he's your quintessential high school
quarterback
guy.
Yeah.
He's your guy.
And he doesn't make many mistakes.
No, not if any, many. He's the guy. And that
student of the game seems like.
Exactly.
He's your high school quarterback you want. Yeah.
Right. And we used to talk to our quarterbacks, and we do this from the beginning of the summer. Say, guys, as the young kids come into the program and all the way up, we say there's only one guy during the game that coaches talk to on a regular basis and want a lot of input. We want some input from the line. We need that type of input from the quarterback. That guy is going to give us and the guy who can give you the straight dope of what's going on, right? Not like,
what's going on there?
Yeah, what's really happening? Hey, coach, when you got a quarterback that walks back to you and say, coach, we got trapped. You got a quarterback who knows your game, right? Not, hey, coach, we can throw fade. Because most quarterbacks, in that world typically want to throw.
That's what the wideouts want. The quarterbacks usually don't tell you that. The wideouts go, hey, I got to fade.
Oh, right.
The quarterbacks are more. I asked the quarterback this year, the guy, I was with a guy for the first year, Brady Cobb, he was a junior. And we go in later in the week, and I ask him, hey, what do you like?
Right.
What do you like? I know what I like. Yeah. I know what you do well. I think you do well. But what do you like? Because, and now Franchise's year 3. Like, he's got his pulse all over that thing on like what he likes, I'm sure.
100%.
Here's what I like as a break to get some water. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. We got to preview Group 4, Group 5, non-pubs. I think we're going to escape another break this week, Rod. I think we're just going to go right on through the show when we come back. We got a lot of good content this week. Sectional final weekend coming up. Stay tuned. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. We'll be right back after this. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show's presenting sponsor is the West Jersey Football Coaches Association. The West Jersey Football Coaches Association was established to promote, improve, and unite football in South Jersey. And in less than 4 years, the association created the Battle at the Beach and dedicated itself to helping others. They've donated close to $80,000 to date to provide scholarships through the National Football Foundation and the Touchdown Club of Southern New Jersey. The group has also donated to the charity Philly Faces, which helps those in need of facial reconstruction surgery. Thank you to the West Jersey Football Coaches Association for their sponsorship of the show. South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by SRA Home Products. South Jersey, let me tell you about my friends over at SRA Home Products. SRA has been building sunrooms, pergolas, and patio covers for over 25 years. They've built more than 9,000 projects in the Delaware Valley. I've had nothing but the best to say about Mike Fody in the time I've had the chance to be around him and his crew. SRA is a gold accredited member of the Better Business Bureau, under the elite provider status with Home Advisor, and they've racked up Best of South Jersey awards throughout their past. They contribute to multiple sport associations and are huge supporters of Williamstown football. Find them online at srahomeproducts.com. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by the NJFOA South Officials Association. Are you passionate about football? Don't wait. Become a part of the NJFOA South Officials Association and join them to help officiate high school football games. With a diverse community of more than 250 members, they proudly oversee every high school football game in South Jersey, setting the standard for officiating in the state. By joining the chapter, you will become part of a team that upholds the highest standards in the game. They are more than just officials. They're advocates for sportsmanship, integrity, and guardians of player safety, champions of fair play. They offer the proper training to ensure you're ready to make the calls and uphold the values. Ready to put on the stripes and join the team? Visit www.njfoasouth.org and hit Join Us to register now. That's www.njfoa-south.org and hit Join Us to register now. Elevate your love for the game and become a football official with NJFOA South. Welcome back to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. I'm Mark Trible, joined by Coach Tim McAneney and our special co-host today, John Emel, coach of West Deptford and the president of the West Jersey Football Coaches Association. They're our presenting sponsors, so thanks to John for that. We got Central Group 4 action Friday night at Wheaton Field, 6 p.m. Brick Memorial's the 2 seed, the Mustangs 9-2. They are facing Millville, the 1 seed, 8-2. Millville last week against Marlboro, won 53-0. Flavor country it was for the Thunderbolts. Robbie O'Connor, 12 for 17, 286, 3 touchdowns. Lotsier Brooks, 6 catches, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jay Neverett, punt return for touchdown. The Mustangs of Brick Memorial beat Jackson Memorial 41-21. Second time they beat the Jaguars this season. Jason Lahara, 8 for 12, 226, 3 touchdowns, 14 carries, 128 yards, 3 touchdowns. Big game for the quarterback. Nizier Matthews, 3 catches, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also grabbed a pick on defense. This is a This is a pretty good Brick Memorial team, John. We talked about this earlier. It's a big game for the Shore Conference of what they're going to show against Millville after last week. You lose a 53-0 Marlboro.
I think as much as like I know some of these teams we've already previewed, I think the big theme for South Jersey and everyone else this week is going to be the games we're going to talk about in this next segment. Millville and Brick Memorial. Can the Shore Conference come down here and put up a fight against Millville, one of our best teams the last 5 years, okay? And Millville back where they've been in the sectional final at home.
Yes.
Not, we mentioned in the last segment, didn't get what they wanted against an unbelievable mainland team. They're looking to just quietly do their thing again this week and, looking forward to that rematch with Winslow, I'm sure.
Yeah, last year Millville losing that sectional final.
You were there.
I was there.
Yeah.
Mainland really took it to them. 2 years ago, they won at Hamilton in a dramatic finish.
Kenny Smith had a huge game. That was a great game. 16,
great game.
18,
He's just
or
2 yards short, basically, that first down, and then Brooks takes
80 yards in 2
down
minutes
bubble
or
pass
something.
or inside screen. I'm sorry, and the next thing you knew, Millville took that one. So they're back here in the sectional final where they expect to be. It is an interesting game because what Millville has been able to do in Group 4 over the past few years and the competition that they've played, and of course Latsier Brooks, who is worth a lot more than the price of admission to begin with. Having a Brick Memorial team come in and Millville expects to win that game, and I think South Jersey expects Millville to win that game. So we'll see what happens. It is the Shore versus West Jersey Football League. I'll say this. There are some matchups out there for our South Jersey fans, as most of you are. Woodstown, Delsea, Millville. If those, and you can factor in RV as well, we'll talk about them. If those teams win, we're guaranteed a state finalist in those groups, in groups 1, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
So a team in the state championship game from the traditional South Jersey schools. On the other side of the bracket here in South Jersey Group 4, you got Winslow, who's undefeated. We talked about him, one of the best public teams in the area here recently. They beat Manalapan 49-8 on Saturday. Jalen Parker, 8 for 14, 253 and 5 touchdowns. Boomer Helton, 3 catches, 126 yards, 3 touchdowns. Cam Miller caught a touchdown as they rolled. They're going to host Shawnee, 8-3, the 3 seed, Saturday at 1 p.m. Shawnee beat Middletown North 27-17. They got the Middletown sweep in this playoffs. Beat South, beat North. Hope you found a good place to eat down there. Mac, I know you were asking around last week. But Cole Anderson, 8 for 12, 141 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Nichols, kick return touchdown. Joey Cleaver, pick 6. I think we have both as our knots of the week, in addition to Jamar. We have both of them, Rod? We do. So let's see what Shawnee did to make Mac proud here, winning 27-17 and the knots being the difference. Are we going kick return first? No, we're going pick first.
What was this ride, Mac? 80 minutes?
Joey Cleaver. Look at that. Jumps it in the flat, Mac.
Yeah.
Great technique.
Joey can move, man. He's a junior basketball player. He's a good-looking kid, big size inside linebacker. He jumped that out route. Now this was the flip of the game, and I'll talk to you after Tyler Nichols as you watch this. Watch this lead blocker here. Jack Creaney gets a lead block on the front end, number 3. Nichols goes to the sidelines, makes a hard cut back left. Watch Creaney now on the hash. See him go. Creaney now leads Nichols into the end zone and keeps a guy from tackling him. So Creaney makes the first block and the last block with an unbelievable run by Tyler Nichols.
So that goes on the coaching film moving forward of guys. Let me tell you what you do if you're on a kickoff team.
If I just say this goes back to, we used to have a guy to come into Penns Grove. He was graduated like class of 50 something, and he would speak to the guys. And if you could block 2 guys on a play, then you're doing something.
Correct.
And you don't see that, and there it is.
How about the front?
You block 2 guys
the front
on the
and the
play.
back. I'm not talking a chip block. I'm not talking double and a 3 tech up to the
impact
linebacker.
blocks.
Impacts. And so what's interesting about this situation was Shawnee got the ball, went down, took the score, took the early lead 6-0, and then North comes up, goes down, makes up 7-6, right? Shawnee drives right down the field again. Looks like they're going to score pretty easily, and they don't. They get stopped. They get a penalty. They don't score. Then a freaky play by North. It looked like it was on their sideline. So I thought it was like a hook and lateral. It was a forward fumble, but
They advanced it.
They advanced it, but it was like, not the NFL rule. It's high school, right? So he picks it up. They get inside the 10-yard line. They get stopped on downs. There's like 7 seconds left in the half. They kick a field goal to go up 10-6. That kickoff return takes place with 2 seconds left in the first half. Wow. So North kicks off.
So they got the lead on that.
Correct.
Oh, that's crazy.
And North kicks off. It goes out of bounds, right? And everybody's like, well, why didn't the clock expire? And I'm like, because nobody touched it. So they, and then someone someone grabs me and says, well, why are we even
it's
kicking?
Like Mike, the guy off the referees, getting all the rules explanations.
Someone actually said to me,
Gene, we got Gene in the studio here. Why the clock didn't run out, Gene?
Gene's got great hair. So someone says to me,
I'm better than you?
Coach, why are we even doing this back? Why are we doing this play? It's the end of the half. I said, anything can happen.
I'm a big believer in make them kick
it again.
Make them run down there twice.
Because
when you practice it, do you practice covering it twice? It's like you do, but
Coach,
it's the hardest thing to do.
It was a line drive kick right to Tyler Nichols. Boom. Like he caught it. Like
And in that situation, right? Make them kick it again is obvious because you don't have enough to score.
No,
your best chance to score is on that. on that play.
You don't got Aaron Rodgers throwing Jaden whoever, Jaden Daniels throwing.
You're not setting up a 60-yard field goal,
anything
or PI or something.
Yeah, let him kick it off. Well, we kick it off. Nichols runs it back, kicks the extra point.
Oh, that was the game.
Now it's 13-10.
You get the ball to start second half.
Yes,
score the old front back end.
Like points before half. Now it's 19-10. And then Shawnee actually goes up 27-10.
And they're thinking, we kicked the field goal up 12-7, and we never touched the ball till we were down, or 10-7 and 10-6.
We kick a field goal, to go 10-6, and we don't touch the ball till it's 19-6.
Yeah, 2-score game, man.
2 scores in that.
That's like crazy.
That's
deflating, man. That's deflating.
Coach, it was like, I didn't say I felt bad, because obviously I got a horse in the game with Shawnee. But you look on the other side with an undefeated team that had a loaded stands, and cheerleaders going on and band going on. All of a sudden, it was silent over there. And
North, I went to school, Monmouth University. That's where I graduated from. Like, North has always been the backseat to South. And now they've kind of been better the last few years. Or as good, I'll say. And this is like an opportunity to get to sectional final.
Undefeated.
Make that next step.
And Nichols makes
it's a great win for Shawnee.
Listen, and then the pass that made it, Cleaver made it a 27-10 game. The big pass, the young freshman quarterback Cole Anderson, he completed on the first drive. He completed a 3rd and 8, a 4th and 4 pass, and then he had an 80-yard touchdown pass to Justin Robinson. So it was basically 80-yard pass, pick 6, kickoff return, and it was like it's playoff football. You're sitting there going, what the heck just happened? And
Mac. Big win for Shawnee, obviously.
Huge.
As you said, Coach Gushu back in a sectional final where he expects to be.
Yeah, I mean, Shawnee, when I think Shawnee, I think about the three-peats, 17, 18, 19. Obviously, the great teams, years ago with LaPierre and some of the great players.
LaPierre,
but, LaPierre, Shawnee's taken their lumps the last couple of years. Competitive every week, but playing a brutal schedule. Mm-hmm. And then this year, kind of, flying under the radar. I know they lost to Camden early, but nobody was really talking about them, and now they're back in the sectional final.
Lost to Camden, lost to RV.
Some quality losses, if there's ever such a thing, and against tough teams.
This is becoming to be their MO. Right. To win 3-4 games, going to playoffs, win a state championship. Like, we're not going to act like they haven't done this before,
this would be the upset of
this is their
this would be the upset of the century.
What they do.
But here's the deal. They got 8 wins.
You're right.
What's crazy is they got 8 wins right now.
Right.
They're an 8-4 team, 8-3. Yeah,
probably 8-3.
They lost to RV Camden, 8-3. RV Camden and Cherokee. Close to Cherokee. But to your point, there's the last couple seasons, and they lost to the sectional final to Winslow in 2021. My other kid's senior, senior.
Yeah, that was a tougher game too. They played pretty well. Was it 27-14 or something?
It was
a 1-score game.
Correct.
They were. That was a tough Shawnee team.
Yeah, and look, Winslow's loaded. Like, they're the team in South Jersey. Heck, they're the team in the state. Highest public ranked team in the state. Shawnee, you just think as a coach, as us old guys sitting here, we're like, hopefully Shawnee's not just happy to be there, right? Like, hey, let's, we're going to get on the bus, we're going to put on the equipment. Hey, let's try to do some things, right? And then if you're Winslow, you're hoping you're not looking ahead towards a Millville game a week ahead because, do you have that clash coming up? And, could this be a possible trap situation for the Winslow team looking at, hey, we got Millville, we got that type of stuff.
I think anybody playing this time of year, you're not overlooking anybody. You're ready to go because there's no next week. It's one game season every week.
Coach, I agree,
but kids may not think that way. You don't know. You're right.
Look, they seem to find each other, like you said, when it comes playoff time, and it's always at Winslow. And it's not that far a drive for Shawnee, and this one's during the day. They played on Saturday night. There was one year they weren't sure if there was a correct spot on the far side of the field, and there's one year I think your kid was on crutches or something at the end of the game.
He got his knee ripped up during the game.
Yeah. The first thing says, "Are you coming over for Thanksgiving?" I'm like, sorry about the end of your career, but it's an interesting game. Two programs here now. Winslow has shown no signs of slowing down or stopping this year. They're scoring a lot of points. I know the Manalapan fans were not happy with some late scores. John, where do you sit on the side of that, putting up points? I know you've been on teams before where you've blown out opponents and you score late, or you throw a touchdown pass and maybe it's – what do you think about that?
What? I got mixed feelings. I dealt with it this year in a game where we scored 58, and some people were happy on the other side. I've been upset a couple times when guys were throwing the ball 48-6, and I got some younger guys in the game. At the end of the day, you do what's best for your team. I'm not a fan of, and I can tell you this, from Coach Belton's point of view, and you know what it's like, Coach. You're up big, and they're teeing off with 7 guys blitzing because they know you're running the ball. Yeah, and your back's getting pounded up. And if you're a spread team, without a tight end, and I haven't seen Winslow a ton other than a few games, but if you're a spread team playing with 5 linemen and no fullback, and they're teeing off 7, 8 guys playing zero coverage,
right? You're
not going to get your back hurt. You're going to throw the ball. It's easier just to throw a screen or throw a fade.
I agree.
And trust me, and Winslow's got plenty of guys that are deserving of getting a touch. I don't care if it's 10-0 or 50-0. So Coach Belton's going to do what's best for his team, and I feel like that's the least important thing comes out of a game like that.
My always thing in those type of games,
you protect your guys.
Look, that's the thing. You protect your guy.
You protect your guys.
Kids don't want to ever come out, right? They don't want to come out of any game.
How many times do you score 50?
As a coach, never.
Sorry.
It's not sorry.
No. That doesn't have anything to do with him not wanting to score 50. Let me tell you that.
My dad told me you don't score 50.
Where?
I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I agree. I understand.
He's running the ball up the middle, man. Milk that clock.
Rod, I'm an old man. Listen, I had to back my pop here. Pennsauken High would win 28-14, maybe 28-7, right?
Yeah. I remember the Titans.
Yeah.
When he goes, run it up, leave no doubt.
Right.
That's my favorite line. But not in a game series. You got to balance.
That's what I was hoping the Eagles would continue to do on Sunday. I was like, score 100 points on them. I don't care if the sun's out or not.
If the game's
if you're a spread team,
and they're bringing 7, right?
Why are you running the ball late in the game? You're going to get your kids hurt. I see that too. And it's because they know you're running, they're blitzing. It's almost like protect your guys. And if you're a team that, throws the ball 50% of the time, you got the big boys run blocking. And I'm sure there's some backups in, but
Coach,
you don't want to get your kids hurt.
My concern was that. We have another week to play, right?
Yeah.
Or if you're in that situation,
it's less physically demanding pass blocking than run blocking.
Right.
I'm telling you.
The other part of that is when you put your second unit in, if they're as equal to the team that you're playing, it's kind of hard to tell them not to play hard, they're getting their shot, their opportunity.
I apologize.
Let me ask you this, Coach.
I lied. We scored 58 against Hal. It was a 58. It was a 58-38 game.
Let me ask you this though, because this is something I haven't been on the wrong side of this very much, but I have heard this. So when you put your second team in, is it etiquette that they kind of take some of their best guys out too?
I would think
even
so.
though they're down 4, you take some of the studs out, right? You don't have the.
Yeah, I would think so.
I would think so, right? Because it's like that point you're kind of saying, hey, look, I'm putting my younger guys in.
And
you take your guys out, you're all your best. I don't know if that went on, but I'm just saying it's kind
Coach, I always felt like if I was going to put in my young kids, I didn't care what they did.
Yeah.
I
just said I've heard different coaches.
Guys are like, well, I put in my youngs. Why didn't he put in his young?
Yeah, you got your older guys in there killing my young guys from a safety
standpoint. Coach, I always felt like, look, if we were in it, thankfully enough in the game where we had it in hand score-wise, it was cool to get the young kids in because now it gets everybody excited. The practice week goes a lot better. Your scout team's got a little more jump. Everybody's a little more excited.
And this time of year, I know sure there's not any JV games. So
No,
this
there
is
is-
their
there is
opportunity.
not.
Let's
Keeps
not
the
forget
kids,
this too.
you know.
Depth isn't exactly, numbers aren't exactly what they used to be either.
Right.
You might not have five backup
in those
linemen.
games, I'm sure Winslow's got more. In those games, that I'm Group 1 school at this point. You know, in those games, the backup kid, he may not, be very good at all or capable of doing very much. So my guys played a little later in games. We scored a little more points. I didn't have the problem of having to get 60 guys in, but that's a real thing too. I want to give a shout out to, first off, we kind of brushed over Millville a little bit. I'm very appreciative of Millville, Winslow this year, Holy Spirit. We're going to talk about Washington Township, Mainland. The teams that Cedar Creek, we touched on a little bit earlier, and their loss to Delsey. These teams have become the backbone of playing in the Battle Beach annually at our kickoff event in Ocean City, which has helped fundraise the National Football Foundation, the Touchdown Club of South Jersey. These are organizations that are important to me. They're important to guys that have been around. We lost to Brooks Irvine.
Yeah.
We lost the All-Star game at some point. We brought back the Hall of Fame this year, but that went away for a number of years. So I just feel like, those programs and those coaches, because they commit to doing it, they step out and they play different teams. Millville's been in there 4 years, played Toms River North. Washington Township played Mainland and Toms River North the last 2 years. Both teams end up going
It's not an easy
So
choice.
it's a hard decision
Yeah,
to play a game week 0 where, and we did it this year. We lost. It's like you put yourself out there knowing, hey, we might lose. But, in the long run, we hope it'll make us better. And I'm thankful RV played into the last 2 years. There's a reason that these teams step up and do it because they're playing.
Yeah.
They have aspirations to play in late November.
There's teams elsewhere, Pascack Valley still playing, Cedar Grove, some other teams across
Cedar
the
Grove,
state.
we might be
participating
previewing them in a
as
couple
well.
weeks.
Yeah.
Cedar Grove and Pascack come down and take the chance because they think they're going to be good, rightfully so.
Yeah.
And, so I want to thank those guys.
Let's talk one of those teams who has made it to the sectional final. There was a Battle of the Beach. South Jersey Group 5, Rancocas Valley 9-2. They're the 2 seed. They head to Toms River North onsdefeated 11-0. 2-time state champ, the top seed. This is Friday at 6 p.m. The Red Devils beat Hillsborough in a back-and-forth game last week at home, 35-30. Hillsborough was a 3 seed. Savion Adams, 5 of 8, 152 yards, 3 touchdowns, 8 carries, 102 yards. Very dynamic. One of the key plays of the game, though, Jameer Bellamy had a kickoff return for a score. He also had 10 carries, 103 yards, and a touchdown. Very fast. Brody Dieter, 4 catches, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. A forced fumble deep in the red zone late saved the day for RV with that defense. Coach Lucas in a sectional final. Now, their reward for getting there is the Mariners, who beat Kingsway 21-14. I don't know if folks thought it would be as close as it was. Shout out to Coach Hendrick's team and going down there and having that game at 14-14 the second half. TJ Valerio's 9 of 12, 129 yards and 2 touchdowns, 24 carries, 107 yards. Cameron Thomas, 4 catches, 2 touchdowns. Nasir Jackson, kickoff return for touchdown for the Mariners. RV in this game, Kingsway played close. RV's had a great season. They've been getting better and better. One of these teams that just keeps peaking at the right time. What do we think about this one, RV and Toms River North, Coach?
I think, Coach. I'm coach, I guess now.
You're coach and coach?
Coach,
You're
the coach.
Well,
I'm going to talk about RV. So RV is a team that I think has really stepped up the last couple of years. Rod mentioned some programs taking the next step. RV, 2 years ago, lost a home playoff game to Atlantic City. Okay, a team that we're going to talk about in a little bit, I'm sure. Last year took another step forward. This year, they were in our passing league at West Deptford. We had 14 schools in our summer passing league, and RV won the league. They went undefeated. They won the Del Val 7-on-7, playing against 30-some schools at Del Val. So I think coming into the season, if you were asking me, I said, hey, this is a top 15, borderline top 10 team in South Jersey. They've exceeded expectations. They have some dudes. They have some skill guys that can play.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it. When you're winning that much in 7-on-7, you have skill guys that can play. But they got guys that can play in pads too. When you beat St. Augie's at home, they have a tough schedule. And then they have an opportunity, to go on the road and wear that South Jersey banner and hopefully knock off Toms River North, who's going for their, the third straight title. And I think Kingsway, shout out to Kingsway, we know what Coach Hendricks is. Defensively, they're as sound as everybody every week. But, there's a familiarity there, I think, Kingsway beat them in 2021. They've played in the playoffs a few times.
Yeah.
And when you play often, as you know, Coach Mack, when you were playing, Cherokee, Shawnee, and RV, during your golden age that last 4 or 5 years, they're going to be tight games.
Always.
So I don't know so much if you can say, oh, well, RV, if they play at a high level, they can go on the road and win. I think Kingsway, there's a familiarity there that lends itself to having a really competitive game this time of year. And RV shouldn't put too much stock in that, which I'm sure they're not. They're going to go on the road and try to, play their best.
Interesting piece here, though. I mean, you look at the run that Toms River North has had. Two things stand out. One of them was mentioned here by Jackson in the comments. Toms River North's defense has been pretty consistent all year. RV's defense last week give up 30 points at home. I know 28. I guess you take a safety late to make sure punt doesn't get blocked or something in the end zone. Defense has to be better for RV, obviously, in this game. Hillsborough has a great running back. I know he was a lot to handle all night for the Red Devils. Toms River North is still Toms River North, Dwayne. There's no question about that. And if you're thinking, well, they may have got their scare last week that may have snapped them out of it, right? And maybe that's not the case.
They won some close games, though. They beat Point Pleasantboro in a close game, and that's what they've been the last couple of years. When you're the top dog, you're going to get tested every week. You're getting everybody's best game. Yes. And Toms River North was a nice write-up about the quarterback. He's waited his turn. He filled in a little bit for Michael Ford. We had Toms River North to battle the beach a couple years. Yeah. They come down, beat Millville. They knocked off, as I mentioned, Washington Township in 2022 on their way to a 14-0 season. So they've been in a lot of big games, and RV is going to have to play better defensively probably to win a championship. I still think I'm a big guy of you win championships with great defense.
No,
defense wins championships.
Agreed. 100% agree. And North has been there. Like, I agree with you, Coach. The Kingsway North thing is a little aberration, right? They
played like the last 3 years in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of what they do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they go through each other to play. North's been North, as Dwayne said. They've been doing it for, I know, 10, 15 straight years, back even longer. They're not afraid of the big game.
10 plus years they've been a perennial in the finals.
Correct. And so this one, to your point, RV's got to tighten up on the D side. Usually sometimes the longer the game goes, usually the underdog gets a little more excited. Sometimes the longer the game goes North and the closer it is, the more it leans towards North because North likes those tight.
I didn't see the game last week, but I just know, Pascack Valley was a game where RV kind of was in control in the first quarter. I watched that game on the field at Battle of the Beach. Pascack's the top seed in North 3, one of the North 3 sections. Very good program. And they kind of lost control of that game. And then against Camden when they lost 41-28. This is a game where last week it could have gone either way. You're not going to give up 30 points and win many games.
No,
so they're going to have to play better on that end.
That is true. But one thing that I like that I've seen from them, and I agree, you can't give up that many points. They're going to have to be a lot more stout up front on the D-line. But I like that even though that was the recipe for disaster against Camden and Pascack Valley, later in the year when they played Shawnee, that was a game, and then they finished the job, right? They came back. And St. Aug, they're losing. They took over the game. They took over last week. Hillsborough. I think you throw in that Washington Township game they just rolled on the road is the game you would look at and say
tough
was a perfect
kids.
storm.
I think people underestimate their toughness. They have some tough kids, that have battled in some physical games the last couple of years. And I'm excited to see what they do this week on the road.
Let's talk non-public B here. Last week we had Pope John, a team that only had one win in state. We sat here and said, well, one win in state, they get to host a playoff game. I mean, they certainly proved it. The 6th seed beat Camden Catholic 42-7. But shout out to Coach Gilliam and what he's been able to do at Camden Catholic. They had a great season this year. I know they still have a big one on Turkey Day. I think it's going to be a pretty nice rivalry that folks will come out to see. And I know Coach Gilliam's given us comments here in the YouTube chat, and thanks, Coach, for tuning in. We appreciate all that you've done. So Camden Catholic loses that one to Pope John. The two teams that we had in non-public beat other than Camden Catholic move on. First off, Paul VI beats Immaculata 21-14. Dalton Felanis, 8 of 12, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns. Elijah Wilson caught 8 passes for 80 yards and a touchdown. Tyree Roan had the game-winning touchdown catch against Immaculata for the Eagles. They have a tough test on Friday at 6 p.m. as they head to DePaul, who's 8-1. Paul VI is 7-2. They're the 8 seed. DePaul's running back Nolan James just flipped his commitment from Boston College to Notre Dame. And if you're going to Notre Dame to play running back, I'm guessing the game plan probably starts and stops right there with Mr. James.
Yeah, I would think.
Paul Six has their work cut out for him.
Yeah, but Paul Six in front seven, man. I mean,
Yeah.
they're as good as any in South Jersey. Their front seven. So if you want good against good, that's what you're going to get. We all know DePaul is loaded. Yes, they are. But Paul Six is Coach Scuderi Sr. He'll put a defense out there.
The consensus in the football circles is in that section, it's DePaul and everyone else. Like everybody's playing for second. So I think Paul the Six, a couple years ago, they went up to, was it Bergen Catholic as a low seed, had a pretty competitive game for a couple, like first quarter maybe or something. So it's like, hey, they got some guys, man, and they got some talented kids
Yeah, they do.
that have been around for a couple years on this rebuild. They've rebuilt that thing at Paul the Six to where they're playing a tougher schedule, and they're playing. They're. It's kind of like where St. Augie's was maybe 6-7 years ago. It's like, okay, we know you're going to be in the playoffs. What are you going to do when you get there? Yeah. And I think that's where we're at with Paul the Six.
Other non-Pub B winner last week in South Jersey, Holy Spirit beat Donovan Catholic 38-0. Ty Costabile threw 2 touchdowns. Jasir Pops Ward, 15 carries, 116 yards, and a touchdown. Amir Hicks, 7 carries, 90 yards, and a touchdown. They're going to host St. Thomas Aquinas Friday at 6 p.m. in Absecon, who beat the 12-seed St. Mary's Rutherford 61-6. They rolled these two teams, these two programs every year here the last handful of years. St. Thomas Aquinas, Holy Spirit, also teams that played a battle at the beach. Not St. Thomas Aquinas this year, but they've been there in the past. Should be a good matchup, I think. And you look at Holy Spirit, maybe playing at home is key in this one.
Yeah, Holy Spirit's tough. I mean, I was a little disappointed with their seed. I thought they played a super competitive schedule. They're 8-1. Their only loss is they stepped up and challenged Millville.
They won 8 in a row.
Week 0. Some good wins. Camden on the road. St. Augie's, who's rivalry game every year. I was a little disappointed with their seed, but they're playing home. I feel like this is a good Holy Spirit team. They brought a lot of guys back. I feel like Pops is another one of those guys like Russo. He's been around for a long time.
Yep.
But when I get to see Holy Spirit every year battle the beach, so I know Coach DePasquale is going to have those guys ready to go. And I'm excited. I think that game amongst the public games that you mentioned, this is where South Jersey gets to earn some respect. Because I think there's no doubt statewide, people think, hey, the public schools are better in South Jersey. But up north, they feel they don't really respect our parochial football. So these opportunities for Paul the Six, St. Aug's, and Holy Spirit to step up and represent us well, I think we're all looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, we wish them well. It's a tough chore though, man. They got a billion.
They're playing home. St. Thomas is good, man.
Yeah, and they got a billion kids above Trent.
St. Thomas,
a lot of dudes up there.
St. Thomas ended up as the 5 seed because they had a tough loss to Paramus, I think 35-34, but they were probably going to be the 2 seed before that, and they moved down to 5. But now Holy Spirit's got them at home, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. You know what you're going to get from Holy Spirit. I think in talking to their staff at the beginning of the season, they knew they had some top caliber players, but weren't sure in the depth of the team overall. And I don't think there's a team, maybe a couple of them in South Jersey that coach it up better week to week. And then you see the results at the end of the year. When you look back at Holy Spirit now and you say, wow, look at this team. I think if we had rankings last week of the season, they would have been number 2 in South Jersey behind Winslow. And that's a team that they would not have thought that they wouldn't have told you that at the beginning of the season of we got a number 2 in South Jersey team. Some of that sandbagging, John, I know that.
They're humble guys, though. They'll tell you.
Oh.
They'll tell you. It is kind of like those guys are kind of like what Coach Sacco was 20 years ago.
Crying poor all
you
the
look
time.
at their team and you're like, man, this team doesn't look that good. And then you turn around, they're 10-1, and you're like, how are they 10-1? And they'd be like, oh, we stink.
Yeah,
but you don't stink. You guys are good. You coach hard. The kids play hard.
They block. They rally to the ball. They're tough as hell.
They practice hard, so they get better.
They get better.
They get better.
No doubt.
But they're tough.
Non-public Group A, we got our opener this week of St. Augustine, the only South Jersey team involved in the 8-team bracket. They're 6-3. They head to Del Barton, the 3 seed, 7-2. Saturday at 1 p.m., you got Julian Turney at running back. He's done it all for the prep. You got a number of guys up front. You got McClear in the back end on defense. They've done a nice job. I like what the Coney kid brings also at the running back position. Again, every year we get to this point, we talk about it. A few years ago, I know they got that win in the first round. This is the proving ground for St. Augustine each year. All the other stuff seems to just be dressing on top. So what do we think about the Hermits as they go up to face the Green Wave?
I think the Hermits have played, they're tough every week. Their defense is good. Maybe one of the best in South Jersey. I know they're really good up front. A lot of good quality bigs on both sides of the ball. I think, if you look at their season, it's like the defense will keep them in the game. Can they score 21 points? Can they score enough points to win? You look at they're playing Del Barton, right?
Correct.
It's Del Barton, right? So all those D's kind of run together up there, DePaul, Del Barton. But Del Barton scored a lot of points. They're scoring 35, 42 points a game. Now, I don't know their competition, but obviously they've done enough to be seeded 3 and in the toughest bracket in the state.
Right, I'm going to echo.
So
right.
I think it's like, can Augie score enough points to upset this, to make Pooley upset off?
Right, but we all know Coach Lancetta, not going to get in a shootout or doesn't want to get in a shootout. He'll take the 10-7, 14-10, 21-14 tops. You know what I'm saying? To your point, Coach, they're going to play defense. Augie's going to show up play defense. And look, if you can play defense, you got a back like Turney. You make some opportune throws, protect the football. I'll get boring here, kicking game, punt the ball, flip the field. Again, playoff football. You got to go to Del Barton, which is, the Green Wave's pretty tough. We want South Jersey to represent.
Also,
be a big win, because I think every year the question is always, hey, because it's a tough bracket. Can they win the playoffs? Right. And I know they did have some great games on just the last 5-6 years off the top of my head. They lost a close one to the 21-7 was Seton Hall Prep or somebody a few years ago, and then Don Bosco at home 14-0, one of the best teams they had. This is an opportunity. Hey, can we win this game?
I want to say too, and Kevin Minnick's right here in the chat. As always, Kevin's got me. He's always been a good editor of mine. Back when we worked together at the Courier. St. Augustine has won a handful of first-round games. I'm thinking that round of 8, the bracket is now shrunk. I think last year they played like St. John Vianney in the first round, or there's some of those years.
They've won the pigtail bracket.
I'm talking about
I was thinking of the close losses in the semis. They've had some tough losses in the semis, but now that bracket shrunk to 8, so it's the 8 the big boys.
Yeah.
The 8 big boys.
I know somebody asked here in the YouTube, am I going to talk about Atlantic City and Washington Township? Well, there's a reason I left it out.
It's the game of the week, right?
It's the game of the week. Yeah. Absolutely, Coach. You're catching on pretty quickly on how this thing works.
I have watched a few of these.
You have watched a few of these. There's no question about it. Washington Township, the 1 seed. I saw them last week. I love what I saw from them. They came out, took care of business. They were excited. They were happy. But, they didn't go over the top. They said, guys, we were here last year. We got pushed around.
It felt like a business trip, right? Yeah.
It felt like, okay, now we're where we want to be. They haven't won a sectional final since 1995. And the team they're playing in the Central Jersey Group 5 Championship, Atlantic City, the 2 seed, hasn't won one since 1999. And history's going to be made one way or another, the winner of this game. You look at the Vikings last week, and if you forgot what Washington Township did, we covered that in the beginning of the show. But just go back and watch it, rewind it, all that good stuff. The Vikings beat Cherokee 28-18. Star quarterback Peaky Roseborough left the game early. Kevin Entrust came in off the bench, 6 of 15, but 145 yards and a touchdown, played well. Ice Cup, Sinai DeGraffenreich just signed his letter of intent to Rutgers this morning. Congratulations, Sinai, on all the success and best of luck.
Go RU.
He ran for a touchdown. Dante Thompson, 2 catches, 82 yards and a touchdown. Mac, do you remember that 1995 Washington Township game? Kevin Minnick wants to know.
Was Kerner? Was it Mike Kerner? Was Kerner the running back? Kevin?
He was the 93, right? Was he 95?
I think Kerner was. I think it was a Kerner-led team. Obviously, Tom Brown coached. Yeah, they were a juggernaut in the 90s. It was a year in and year out. Township penciled them in the group 4. Before they didn't have 5 groups, it was 4. So
them and Cherokee, they were butting heads off in there.
And then the early 2000s, as Coach Shasta said, well, we were the Buffalo Bills in the early 2000s. They made it 4 years in a row. They lost the first 2 to Shawnee. They lost 1 to Eastern. They lost to Shawnee. The last time they won a sectional final.
The one to Eastern was tough because Eastern. I
Pete Ferris. Pete Ferris, not Kerner.
Oh, when was Kerner? Early 90s?
I think it was 92 or 93.
Okay.
But the last time Township won a sectional final, 95, they played at the Meadowlands. It's been a while.
I'll tell you what, I remember the 99 AC team. You probably do too. They had, Jamar Reynolds, and they knocked off Taliaferro.
Yes.
It was Eastern was 11-0, I think, going to that game.
Yeah.
So that was the last time. Who would have thought, though, just because, how about shout out to Coach Wright at AC, man, for the last couple of years building that thing the right way, getting his guys to kind of stay home and knocked off, I mentioned the playoff win over RV 2 years ago. And I saw them at Battle of the Beach, man. And I'm going to tell you right now, they had every opportunity to beat Mainland in that first game. They had the ball on the goal line, came up a couple inches short. They definitely were short. A couple calls didn't go their way. I know they were not happy with the officiating in that game. I think there was like a 4th down stop. Drive was kind of extended on like a pass interference. But AC's just battled all year, man. I think that what a great game for either of those programs to win their first championship in since the 90s. Just a tremendous testament what they've done. Coach Schatz has rebuilt that thing to where the last couple of years, like you said, they've been knocking on the back door to Toms River North. Now they get to host it at home. They were the top seed there one year and got knocked off with Lenape, right?
Yeah, on
a field goal. Yep. So they've kind of been knocking on the door, and I want to give a shout out to Township, man. They got a couple guys. I used to work with Miss Palaganis. Yeah. Gabe, I remember Gabe, he was playing basketball in the gym when he was in 4th grade on Take Their Child to Work Day, and his brother Caleb. They've had a great job for them. I know Gabe's one of the best D linemen in South Jersey, probably.
Well, to your point,
those guys. I'm excited to see either of those teams, play. Hopefully, they both play well.
Right. Yeah. So I think you're going to get a good game out of both of them. Having it and keeping your guys home. Like recruiting within. You got
to recruit your own guys. Everybody understands.
You got to keep your guys, and that's what Township has done. And Lang City has done. They kept their guys, and here you are. They're both in a sectional final.
And both programs in the past, before Coach Wright and Coach Schatzman were in charge here, that was a big piece of it. There were a lot of kids from Washington Township who ended up at different schools, blocking and having great decorated careers, that they were Township guys. And a lot of it had to do, too, with 2 separate youth programs. They united that thing. That was a big deal in that town. And Coach Schatzman was a part of that. And then you look at Atlantic City, there's a lot of options down there, places to go. You got choice schools, and we've talked about one of the very impressive parochial schools down the street, too. So, like you said, keep your kids at home, grow the program, grow the culture. Going to be a big game, going to be a Group 5 sectional final, one that we've been waiting for kind of like these two to match up. They matched up in the playoffs last year. It wasn't the sectional final. Washington Township took care of business in that one.
What was the score of that game?
I don't know. I remember exactly. I was there. It wasn't very close.
I hope Pinky Roseboro plays. I mean, I think everyone wants to know, is Pinky Roseboro going to play? And I'm sure.
That's huge.
You want to be at full strength, man. I've been to the championship game. We had our best player, Tyreek Brown, had a bad ankle injury, and it was not. It makes you question, hey, can we do the things we've done all year without the guys we've had in there all year? And sometimes you overthink it a little bit, which is what we all do. And and if he can't go, it's like get the ball to Ice Cup, get the ball to him, man. Like they did that at Battle of the Beach on a reverse, which was a touchdown. Just get the ball to him, man, and see what happens.
It was 43-14 last year. AC entered as the 7th seed. The year before, AC beat RV in the playoffs, right on the road. So now you look at the bracket last year. Washington Township beat AC, then they beat RV, and they lost to Toms River North. Those are the 4 teams that are left in Group 5 in South and Central.
Right.
Yeah. These programs have been playing each other the last couple of years.
It's been building to this.
Yeah.
They've been building to this, right? Yeah. I mean, like you said, these Group 5 programs are now, we expect them to be there. Toms River North, of course, we expect to be there. And to go back, go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was just going to say the Township and AC, like you said, they're doing it the right way, keeping their guys. Even the guy we're talking about, Peaky, not playing, they have put a lot of support behind the young quarterback that came in. So they still believe, with or without Peaky, they have a shot at winning.
He was the first-year starter, right? Because it was Broadway Joe the last couple of years, right? So they got a program.
Right.
When you have a program, Mac, next man up. You don't underestimate those guys that have developed in that program.
Correct, but the next man up in the quarterback spot's always.
Well, he did the job last week.
He got it done,
right.
no doubt.
Coming in cold. Not a week of practice.
I get it.
Not a week of reps with the ones.
I understand.
And Township's probably a tougher test than Cherokee at home.
Yeah, but I'll say he's a guy that's been around. He's not like one of these just off the street freshmen.
No, and they have weapons.
He's a
Transfer from St. Augustine, right? He started at the prep.
Yeah, he's got a
So
little
he's
bit
been a
with him.
quarterback. He's not just a guy that plays quarterback. He is a quarterback.
Got a little bit with
Okay,
him.
Right.
there you go.
So,
But here's the thing. Don't underestimate. I mean, focus on quarterback. I know that. But if Roseburg can't go or is limited in any capacity, which we hope he's not, the back end of the defense. I mean, he's an excellent defensive back.
Right.
So it's an effect
player,
on
man.
both sides of the ball in a big way.
He was our player of the game at the Battle of the Beach. He was physical on both sides.
He's an
man.
excellent player.
He's a good player. Really good player.
Excellent player. So that's influencing on both sides. And Township, as I said, Para really stepped up last week. Long. They've got some guys that can catch the ball, and if you're missing a D-back, that's tough.
Did we cover all the games?
Well, we did, but Rod, to your point, be careful what you wish, right? We come up in 2016, we hear Bryce Mangene's got a shoulder issue, right?
Right.
Pre-game, guess who's a quarterback? Iverson Clement, right? And it took
Yeah,
right.
you wish them.
We're like, and I love Bryce Mangene was a hell of a player.
Right.
But then we're like, Woj looked at me in pregame going, we haven't prepared for this Wildcat literally the whole game.
That's what I said, man. You might wish like you put
Right.
Ice Cup at quarterback,
Right.
and he's getting 8 to 10 touches. You're like, geez.
Yeah.
And then they're like, this was not something that we
didn't prepare
knew we had to
for.
Well,
Well, don't prepare for it, but it's like, can you do anything about it?
Right.
you
It's
look at
tough.
some of the highlights last week, Ice Cups in the backfield.
Right.
They're gonna move him
handoffs.
around.
Oh, by the way, Clement did throw a touchdown pass too, so we couldn't put 10 in the
Right.
box, right?
But here's the thing about that. He played quarterback in the midget leagues.
Right.
So
Oh, he
him
played-
going in, everybody's like,
listen, he
him
was
that quarterback?
He was Bugs Bunny in the midgets. Like, first base Bugs Bunny, second base Bugs Bunny. Am I dating myself with cartoons right now?
That's right.
I thought you were going to tell the story about Coach Warner's son playing the quarterback when they thought he wasn't going to play in
1985.
I knew he was going to do that.
I just don't.
Yeah. One of the greatest teams probably in South Jersey history.
It really
What's he doing to me?
I'm
The
messing
show's
with
about
it's
to
not
end.
going to be invited back. He
I'm just
brings up
messing around.
Pensaw and playoff
My boy Tony
loss.
Carducci's
That's all right.
quarterback
We're
in
done.
that
We're
85
done.
squad. What?
We're done.
He throws
I threw
shade
you a
on.
lob. I threw you alley-oop there.
Oh,
You
he
can't
throws
help
me a
it.
Lavallo Carducci at the bowl. Pensacola loses 85 Group 4 championship. Nah, it was a big win for Coach Warner and the squad.
No matter who plays for Atlantic City, Ice Cup's playing. And Ice Cup is going to get the ball. Like Kevin Minnick says in here, you should get it 20 to 25 times. It's going to be cold enough that ice is not going to melt, right?
Yeah.
But on the Washington Township side, I think can continue to do what you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Robinson looked great last week running the ball. Like you said, the defensive front, Pal Janus has been great. Their linebackers have been good. Beeler is a great spark plug running the ball. They have a very balanced offense, and I like Aquino throwing the ball as well. So it's going to be a good matchup. They're two very good teams. They're two balanced teams, and they're teams that are familiar with each other. They're looking for history. Again, Township looking for the first sectional title since 95. Atlantic City since 99. History will be made at the game of the week. That's the Central Jersey Group 5 Championship. We have covered it all, ins and outs, everything else, Rod. I want to give a shout-out to you, arranging everything in here. The D2 Sports Network, who will have the Camden High game on Saturday. Be sure to find that. On Friday, Be sure to find them on YouTube. You do it all here. Beautiful Studio B. Cannot recommend another studio any more than this one. If you need photos, if you need a podcast, if you need any audio, be sure to look to Rod. Mac, thanks as always. Good luck. Two games this weekend. And Coach Emel, thanks for joining us. We appreciate all you brought to the program, man.
Yeah, I love being here. I love, obviously, South Jersey football and the job you guys do, and wish you guys the best the rest of the way.
We get time and a half today, don't we? We
think so.
We did overtime.
We did overtime.
Rod, we get overtime.
It's the best. It's the best show of the year.
It's probably the best show of the year. But
sectional finals.
It's the best show. It's the best show.
That's why we got the special guest, president of West Jersey football.
State semifinals next week, though, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. That may be the best show of the year. Be sure to tune into that. If you watch the show tonight, share it out to your friends, other fans in South Jersey. Be safe traveling around to the games this weekend and bundle up. It's getting a little bit nippier out. So best of luck to everybody in the sectional finals from the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. We'll see you next week.
Go Birds.
And go Birds tomorrow night.